I am really excited to be here with you today. As you just saw, we have a lot going on in the city. And what you saw is only a sampling of the projects that are currently underway. First off, I'd like to thank Vestar and Harkins for welcoming us all here today. This is the first time, please. This is the first time we've hosted an event at their beautiful veranda and inside this new theater. I don't know about you, but I definitely love these comfortable seats. And I can tell you from standing up here, the sound in here is absolutely incredible. Tempe Marketplace is so much more than a mall to our community. This is an excellent example of how business and government can work together for the benefit of everyone. The land we are on right now was once a county island. It was declared a Superfund site back in the 1980s. Vestar and the city of Tempe partnered together to annex the land, garner federal grants, remediate the land, and build new roads. And together, we created the amazing mall we are all enjoying here today. The economic impact of this mall goes beyond the retail and entertainment. It has spurred neighboring developments, such as Rio 2100, with its 5 office buildings, 2 hotels, restaurant space, and a 350-unit apartment complex. It also has helped with the resurrection of the Smith Hub, just to the south of the mall, where several older buildings are being adapted, restored, and redeveloped. Thanks to David for his vision, which has so positively impacted our community. Today, we're working to annex additional county island land in North Tempe. And really quickly, I'm looking over at Councilmember Jennifer Adams, who's been leading that effort here for the city of Tempe. Thank you, Councilmember Adams. So while that land isn't a Superfund site, we know that it holds greater uses for our city and for our region. Banyan North Tempe is the latest success story. This mixed-use project is already under construction, bringing 650 new apartments and retail to the area. I'd like to thank Michael Gossi and Arizona Big Media for hosting this event today. They really have their hand on the pulse on business and development in Greater Phoenix, and for them to choose Tempe as the location of their first Fueling the Economy event is quite an honor. And I'd also like to thank the experts joining us today. You represent 3 vital areas of our economy. Your thoughts on coming trends are valuable, and we sincerely appreciate your time. Today, I'd like to talk about how development, business, and housing are all interconnected. This has been a cornerstone of my tenure as mayor of Tempe, and we've accomplished a lot already, but I haven't done this alone. Once again, I'm going to say, joining me today here is Councilmember Jennifer Adams. She and the entire city council that you see on this screen right now have been instrumental in making our city the best place possible. We are benefactors of decades of remarkable vision, planning, and innovation. From the creation of Tempe Town Lake, which opened up 7 miles of development opportunities, to light rail and now Tempe streetcar, to our longstanding relationship with ASU on science, development, and education, to our partnerships with the 4 Southern tribes that bring us together to work collaboratively toward respectful future developments. The changes in Tempe over the last 2 decades have been both fast-moving and deliberate, and planned, and still surprising in that way when you look around and go, wow, with a sense of satisfaction. Change is inevitable, but in Tempe, we choose our own evolution. If you haven't been to Tempe in the last 10 years or so, it might look pretty different to you. We've grown. In the last 10 years, we've added more than $3.6 billion of mixed-use, commercial, and industrial development. 120 million of that is just in the first 5 months of this year. If you were here 15 years ago, you'd be witnessing the construction of Tempe's inaugural light rail line, the development of Tempe Marketplace, and the birth of West 6th, what many would call Tempe's first high-rise. Now we have 100 Mill, which is home to Amazon, Deloitte, and other household names. There's the new Canopy Hotel, the 23-story Olive Apartments, Tempe Gateway, where Allstate has offices, the new George Oliver project at Hayden Station, and of course, State Farm at Marina Heights on Tempe Town Lake. So while we might be landlocked, we are definitely still growing. South Pier is our largest lakeside opportunity. Throughout the next 15 years, this project will bring significant mixed use, residential, office, and retail development. And at completion, we should see 2,700 new jobs and $317 million in annual economic impact. Beyond that, the project is providing $25 million in public amenities. The Hayden Flour Mill, our most historic landmark, could soon offer new locations for local retail and restaurants, offices, and entertainment. We are in the process of building out the Farmer Arts District. The new Best Western Vibe just opened across the street, and the Beam is opening soon. Dwell, new workforce apartments, are opening at Farmer Arts as well. And I'm glad that we have representatives of all of those projects right here today. There are more than 250 projects in our development pipeline right now. You can see them all online. Another area poised for more transformation, though, is Apache Boulevard. What you see today is completely different than it was a decade ago. It had been an area of higher crime, of older, smaller buildings, but during light rail's construction, we rezoned much of the land in order to prepare for what we knew would become a popular destination for retail and residential. Since that time, we've seen the inclusion of thousands of new apartments, such as Rise on Apache, Nexa, and the District, as well as affordable housing communities like Gracie's Village and River on Eastline. There are many new restaurants too, like one of my favorite places, the Hudson Eatery. And we are continuing to invest in the future. A vital part of that is accelerating housing opportunities with Hometown for All. Following the traditions of mayors who've come before me, I'm working along with the City Council to solve the issues of the next generation while also helping residents of today. And as you all know, there is a national housing shortage. What some might not understand is how that impacts our economy. If we want to attract top companies, we all need to support affordable and workforce housing efforts. Having a solid inventory of affordable housing helps everyone. We're in an economy right now where job seekers can choose where they want to work. Employees in all professions want to work close to home. It saves time and, of course, precious gas. If you don't have enough workforce housing, you can't attract top-tier talent. Businesses will locate where they can find the best and most plentiful workforce, the best schools, and a high quality of life for their employees. Greater Phoenix is now the 18th most expensive housing market in the country, with a 21% increase in housing prices in the last year. That is going to impact our national desirability to larger companies. So the question, of course, becomes, what are we going to do about it? As many of you in this room know, Arizona has a number of challenges that impact the growth of affordable and workforce housing, largely due to legislative preemptions that don't exist in a lot of other states. The lack of inclusionary zoning, the lack of a tax increment financing system, and the inability to implement rent control. But in Tempe, we don't get paid to talk about what we can't do, but instead what we can do. One way we're going to do that is focusing on our innovative affordable housing initiative called Hometown for All. So before I became mayor, the City Council commissioned a study that showed that we needed to add 11,000 more affordable housing units by the year 2040 just to keep pace with current demand. That's an ambitious goal, and we knew we needed to accelerate our efforts. We already had great working relationships with nonprofit and development partners that allowed us to realize amazing projects like Valor on 8th and affordable housing community for veterans. But what we envisioned was creating a sustainable funding stream to preserve and expand affordable and workforce housing, and frankly, have more control over the pace of growth of those housing opportunities. And that, my friends, is how Hometown for All was born. With the support of the council, we also saw the need to boost our efforts. We launched this initiative a little over a year ago. And to date, it has already brought in over $6 million to support more housing opportunities through cash received, projected permitting fees, and pledges of voluntary contributions from the development community. I truly believe, as does the entire City Council, that Hometown for All could be a model for all other Valley cities. But here's how it works. For every development project built in Tempe, an amount equivalent to 50% of certain permitting fees paid to the city's general fund goes to support the nonprofit Tempe Coalition for Affordable Housing. In addition, we updated our guidance for voluntary contributions from developers to fund more affordable housing. Suggested donation amounts are based on the expected amount of certain developer-paid permitting fees, which equates to 20% for residential projects and 10% for commercial or office projects. This initiative has truly galvanized our affordable and workforce housing strategies. Not only have we added a vital new housing funding source through Hometown for All, but we are also making other investments that again put us in the driver's seat to increase housing opportunities in our city. We are also reimagining city-owned properties. Along Apache Boulevard alone, we've put in $1.2 million into critical site preparation work to get 4 parcels shovel-ready for development. Concept plans could collectively add 500 new affordable units in Tempe. We are purchasing single-family homes, apartments, and condos that will remain permanently affordable. There are more than 100 properties under city management today. And we are investing in the future with purchases like the former Food City Plaza at Apache and Dorsey and the Roadway Inn Motel, both of which will greatly expand affordable multifamily housing options. We're here today to talk about fueling the economy in Tempe through development, hospitality, and housing. But I would add a fourth: community. Development, business, housing, and community are all critically linked. And one does not thrive without the others. We see that every day in Tempe through the work of so many of you here. We see it in a lakeside development with housing, hotel, office space, and attractions. We see it downtown with 18 stories of business and employment opportunities. We see it along the Apache Boulevard corridor with live-work apartments for creatives in our city. We see it around the table at a favorite local restaurant, along a crowded marathon route, up and down a street festival, through the window of a light rail train. This interconnectivity is what makes Tempe, Tempe. And it's what brings us all here today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of our panelists about how they are helping to fuel the economy in the city of Tempe. Thank you.
So this panel is going to be focusing on tourism and hospitality issues, and statewide, it's a very powerful industry. You're looking at an industry that generates billions in local and federal and state taxes, all benefiting the state. We took a wallop during the pandemic, so we're slowly crawling ourselves out of that. It's getting better. We're seeing great trends coming out of this. But first and foremost, I wanted to talk about and ask Michael Martin specifically, what is the economic impact to Tempe?
So if you look at 2019, that was the peak year for tourism on a global scale. When we rounded the corner in 2020, we thought 2020 was going to be the pinnacle year. Of course, things changed with the pandemic. So we look back at 2019 as the year to try to reach again. So in that year, we had about an $880 million impact from about 4.2 million visitors to the city of Tempe. That's direct spending, not indirect, so it's higher if you count the indirect spending. But as we are trying to get through the pandemic and recover, we are actually seeing really positive numbers, not just in Tempe, but on a valley-wide and statewide level. Arizona is a natural vacation destination, as we all know. Right now, leisure is really driving the rebound much more than business travel. We're seeing some pickup again in meetings, but leisure is really driving what the rebound here in the United States, and so that's really taking place in the Sun Belt states, particularly here in Arizona. And so to give you an idea, year to date in April, Tempe's occupancy was up 30% year over year. Our ADR, average daily rate, is up 57%. Our number of rooms sold in the city is up 34%, and 110% increase in total room revenue. And that's just January through April, year over year. So we are definitely seeing a rebound in Tempe.
Perfect, that's wonderful. Yeah, we're seeing quite the increase ourselves. But with all the development in Tempe, can we, and I'll open this up to all the panelists, can you speak to all the development that's happening, how that's going to impact the tourism and hospitality industry?
Sure, I'll take that. Technically not a hospitality guy, but I'll speak to the leisure part of it if you'd like. But and just give you, by way of a background, what's going on at Tempe Marketplace, which is a fairly good barometer of not just Tempe, but the entire valley of what has happened over the last couple of years. And what we're seeing today compared to 2019, let's throw 2020 out, but our traffic is up almost 20% over 2019. Sales, gross sales are up about 18% over 2019. So what it tells you is, and that's beyond our other projects around the valley, quite honestly. I mean, it varies depending on where you're at. But I believe it has a significant part of what it belongs to is all the development that's going on in Tempe. Because as Charlie said, there is no other place better in the entire valley and probably in the western United States than Tempe. And we're clearly seeing the benefit of that at our project here.
Absolutely. Lori, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on that, as a business improvement district for downtown Tempe, and just jumping on to what you said, and what we like to say around the office downtown is, downtown Tempe is the place with it all. And we've really experienced an increase in foot traffic due to the development, not only in office projects, but also hotels. When I first started 8 years ago, there were 4 hotels downtown, and we're about to double that. And speaking to a retail business just the other day, they were saying that their business is now comprised, or at least has been this spring, primarily of visitors as opposed to office workers. So I think what we can expect from downtown development with the office workers is that it's going to be a new kind of experience when they come downtown. They may not come out to lunch every day, Monday through Friday, which we can see with a lot of businesses that are closed for lunch Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But when people do come to the office and they do come downtown to work, it's in a different way. They're coming to build culture, and they're gathering, and they're being creative, and they want those experiences. So they'll want to go out and have a meeting on a donut boat at Tempe Town Lake, or they'll want to go out and have a great meal at Cafe Boa, or some of the unique experiences downtown. So we see that foot traffic downtown this past spring has been the highest since 2018.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Speaking to that changing product, Michael, can you go into that a little bit and the benefits of seeing that type of increase?
Sure. So if you look at Tempe, we have close to 7,000 rooms in the city. And we have a number of them that are called select service. So think Hilton Garden Inn or Hyatt Place, Hyatt House. And then you have full service. Think of Tempe Mission Palms, the Buttes, Marriott properties. So for a very long time, we had our full service properties, 5 or 6 of them. Think of the Sheraton Embassy, Buttes, Mission Palms, and the Doubletree. And for a long time, we had a lot of development as select service properties. And in 1999, in fact, we had a 16% increase in hotel rooms just in select service rooms alone. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with select service property. They bring a lot of value. But the difference is a select service property is mining for business in their own backyard. They're not necessarily trying to generate business from out of state. Not because they don't want to, it's because they don't have the funding and they don't have the staffing. They have to manage what they have. And they're great properties, nothing wrong with it. But for a very long time, we could not generate interest in Tempe to get a full service property. And then we see all this Class A development taking place. And now I think hotel investors look at Tempe very differently. So what happened, fast forward now, we have Canopy, we have the Westin, we have the Hyatt Place, Hyatt House, which is still select service, but if you look at their amenities, it's very upend. You have the AC Marriott, and you have now the Omni under construction, and we know there are a couple other properties that are looking to build that are full service. So what does that mean? That means that they're bringing full service restaurants. They're bringing more amenities like a rooftop pool and a bar. They're bringing meeting space so that we can actually generate room nights from outside the state and generate people coming to Tempe for a meeting, spending their money in our restaurants downtown and at Marketplace and so forth. So the type of property that's being built in Tempe is very different than it was just 5 years ago. And that's a really good sign. Even the Vibe, which is a Best Western product, it's more of a high-end Best Western product. There's only 4 of them in the world. And the other thing to think about too is that I think developers look at Tempe as a great place to experiment. We were the first in market for the graduate hotels, first in market for Moxie, first in market for AC, first in market for Canopy, and first in market for Vibe. So that says a lot about Tempe and its business acumen, I think.
Speaking of business, a major trend that we're seeing at the state is more business travelers coming to extend their stay and becoming a leisure traveler. Is that something that you can see in what you're offering? Anything else?
I'll say yes, because I think that is a trend that's a national trend. Again, I mentioned Arizona as a natural place for leisure travel. So if you can work remotely, why wouldn't you do it in a place where there's wonderful weather and a pool, and you can go outside and enjoy the weather and bring your family, whatever it might be. So I think that is a trend that does exist. And I talked earlier about having select service properties. That bodes well because we have, like the Residence Inn, for example, if you look at their room types, it's a suite style property, almost like an apartment. So you could do that when you're traveling to Tempe. So that type of traveler is definitely of interest because obviously they're going to spend more time in the community. They're going to be shopping at our destinations and dining in our restaurants. So it is a trend that's national, so it does happen here.
Speaking more towards signature events, like the Ironman events, are you seeing those events come back? Are they ready to come back? Are you seeing the interest for them to come back? And anybody can speak to that if you want to.
Yeah, I'll jump in. We produced the Tempe Festival of the Arts, and we produced the first one in 2 years last fall, the first weekend of December, which we had a record number of artist supply, a record number of visitors, over 150,000 people over 3 days. The artists reported the highest sales that they've had in many years, and a lot of our food vendors and the bars and all of the indicators that we count to show and count for the success of the festival were beating even some of our highest years, 2016, 17, 18. It was gangbusters. We were super excited. We were expecting the same for spring. I think that it was not as heavily attended. I think it kind of mixed in with some of the spring training uncertainty. But with some of our other events, we know that bringing feet to the street is important to support the downtown businesses and merchants. They stay in the hotels, they eat, they shop, they visit other places in the valley. And they might even think, hey, this is a cool place to move and work. So we know that the events that we produce and the events like Ironman that bring people to Tempe give people an experience. And we have produced some new events in an effort to create that experience for people to come downtown, such as Second Sundays on Mill, which is a seasonal event, November through April. It's basically a local artisan market. We've experimented with a new event at Tempe Beach Park. Every Friday in May, we're doing Foodie Fridays, and we had so many people last Friday that there were 20 and 30 people deep in every food truck line. We had 4 food trucks. And another measurement, we count the sales of the bar, and our bar in a 4-hour period beat a Friday of Tempe Festival of the Arts, which is pretty amazing. So there are things that people are looking for. There's a lifestyle in Tempe. When they come down to Beach Park and have a great time, they're going and they're experiencing other places downtown and in Tempe. So the more events, the better.
Thank you. Can we go into more about, I lost my train of thought here, I apologize. Bringing in trends, let's talk about trends here. Do you see any major trends coming up that we should be aware of, that we should be prepared for? We'll start with David.
Well, I will say, answer the question from a little higher level, and that is, I don't think people realize how fortunate we are to have Tempe and the leadership that this community has had for a long, long time. it is, in my view, and I've been a developer here for 40 years, but Tempe has always had a vision forward so far beyond other cities. It continues to amaze me to this day. I mean, and obviously our example of, we saw what the Tempe Marketplace site was prior to us developing that, and it was truly a private-public partnership with the city, and at the time, if it wasn't for Mayor Hallman, absolutely would not have happened. All the blood, sweat, and tears went in that, and it wasn't just about our project. It was the ripple effect of that on the entire community and the neighborhoods, the hotels that are next door that you talk about, the buildings that Dave Crumwitty's built and so forth. They've all been seen the effect of it, and certainly today with the streetcar program that's underway and the other things, the initiatives that the city of Tempe has going on, they're so forward thinking that I really, really believe this community is going to be at the front of the line for desirability in terms of corporate users coming here, people wanting to live in the city of Tempe, and certainly on the recreation front as well. And oh, by the way, all of that doesn't even count the, we've got the greatest university in the country as a part of the community too. So that's not a specific trend per se that your question asked, but if there are trends, it will happen here in Tempe. I really believe that. And proven by what you said about first-to-market operators, no question about it. That proves it right there.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I think right now in the tourism industry, what we're seeing as a trend is a shorter booking window. So anybody in the audience, when you traveled 5 years ago, you probably planned about 2 or 3 months out. You knew where you were going to go. You booked your airline tickets. You booked your hotel. You had everything planned out. Now it seems as if it's a 1 or 2 week booking window. So the hotels are challenged in a way because they don't know week to week sometimes how many rooms they're going to have booked the following week. And when we talk about the labor shortage that is going on, how do you plan your staffing if you don't know how many people are going to be in your hotel the following week? So there are a lot of challenges right now. It may not think it's a big deal in terms of saying, well, you're getting business regardless of even if they book a week out. We got to get that booking window beyond a week. We got to get it back to a month or so because it helps with planning and it helps with the projections for revenues, that type of thing. And I think it'd be healthier for travel in general. But right now, small booking window is very challenging.
Lori, anything?
I would say for downtown, I think trends, downtown is becoming more of a 24/7, 24-hour, I guess you could say, downtown. Traditionally been a college town with a pretty happening nightlife, but with so many more residential properties opening up, so many more office properties opening up, there really is a 24-hour lifespan of downtown. So whether you're offering breakfast or dinner or nightlife, shopping, it goes beyond what I call the college kid experience, what I like to refer to as regular people. So always will be an entertainment district with heavy on the dining side, but some of the concepts that are currently coming in and have signed leases are a little more sophisticated and are a little more flexible in terms of, hey, again, kind of like a mullet. I can do this during the day, and in the back, I've got my party side. So I'm covering all my bases, and we've got some really good operators. And I just wanted to share my great statistic that I dug up for today before we run out of time. Since March of 2020 through March of 2022, 81 businesses closed in the downtown district, which is about a half square mile in size. 51 businesses closed. I got it backwards. I screwed up my big moment. 51 businesses closed in that time period and 81 businesses opened. And we have 10 on deck to open before fall, this fall. So I think that really stands to the resiliency of this downtown and how it evolves and adapts. And I think there's a lot of potential, a lot of good things that are going to happen.